Hi, and welcome to the Guest Life Podcast, episode 24. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Stefan Grimaldi of Crane Supply. He's the general manager down there. Funny thing about Stefan is I've known him pretty much most of my life. He was always the GOAT when we were playing at Shadoka Arena.
So twin thought, baby.
Yeah, it's a humbling thing to have him on here. We're so grateful to have him. Again, guys, coming into the podcast, we're talking about local talent from the Hamilton area. Stefan's born and raised here, ready to fire it up. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, buddy, absolutely. No, like I was saying, I know we had a chat earlier that I am actually a big fan of this show. And I watch all the episodes and I love that you're doing this, honestly. And so pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So we're going to get into it a little bit, guys. Again, I know the background story. We actually do business together, which is fantastic. His business has been around the Hamilton area for forever, as long as I can go. So we're going to get a little bit into a deep dive of Stefan and how he's kind of excelled this business, taking it to a whole nother level, and how he, builds a team, motivates a team, and then just a little bit about him and his story, and we can reminisce a little bit about our hockey history and and how my dad used to call him a gazelle on skates.
Well, that was the only thing I had. Brick hands, man, brick hands. Yeah. But I could fly down the wing.
It's amazing. So, Stefan, thanks for coming on board.
No, absolutely, pleasure.
And tell us a little bit about you and your position at Crane and what it means to you.
Oh, man, you know what? So I've been at Crane, this is like my 9th year, right? So I honestly started 4 days out of university, which is crazy when I think about it. So I started in May 2012, 4 days after I had graduated, finished my last exam at McMaster. And to see my, evolution, I guess, with Crane over the years, it's something I obviously always hoped for and dreamed of. But to become a reality was really neat. Right. So to me, it's, I think obviously as we'll spend more time together, you see how passionate I am in the position and you're the same, right? We're passionate about what we do. We love what we do. So to me, working at Crane it's not an 8 to 5. It's not I got a job or, I drag through the weeks. If anything, I'm exhilarated to get up in the mornings and get it fired up, right? So I absolutely love it. And I would have never, ever thought that the plumbing wholesale distribution business would be something I'd be excited about. But I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
So tell the viewers a little bit about your current position with Crane, and then also that 4 days after university, where'd you start with Crane?
Yeah, so my current position is general manager of Ontario. So we're a national company. We have 5 regions across Canada,
Wow.
And they're obviously the select provinces. So I look after our Ontario region. We have, West, Midwest, Ontario, Eastern, and Atlantic. So I'm responsible for our Ontario region and all the branches within it. How I kind of came to, I essentially came up through a sales career path, right? I started in inside sales representative position. This was fresh out of university. Did that for about a year and change, and then actually had an opportunity to do outside sales. We call it outside sales representative in kind of a London Windsor market. So I went out there for about 3 years. Commuted from Hamilton.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy.
So my sister still actually has my car. And I'm not even kidding you. So I had a Hyundai Accent. No, those Hyundai Accents. It was 2014 or whatever. I put 220,000 kilometers on this thing in 2-3 years.
Come on.
It was crazy how much driving I was doing. But anyway, so I did that for 3 years. I loved it. That was more of a customer facing role. I feel like I obviously did a decent job. And then I made my way back to Toronto. Right, in more of a managerial position, and in 2016, because this is my 5th year now in this position, I took the general manager position.
Wow.
At Crane. So I've been doing this job for the longest of my tenure at Crane, and sometimes I think about that, say, my gosh, because I still remember what the day to day was like in these other positions, and so I've been in this role now coming up to 5 years in September, and
Holy.
It's yeah. So I was 20. I think I was 26 at the time when I took the job, right? And green as heck. But you know what? It's been a ride. It's been a ride. I've learned a ton.
And how? You must have been the youngest across the board for being in that position.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty confident I was probably the youngest ever to do the position. But the only reason I was ever able to really excel was because I had an unbelievable mentor, right?
Yeah.
Who listen, I'm not going to lie, I was 26 years old trying to figure it out. And, I had, a mentor who really believed in me and still does, and, supporting people who have been fantastic to me. So I was really fortunate that way, that like I had a lot of people just rally behind me, and it's been awesome. It's been awesome.
That's amazing. Is your mentor in the business or outside
He's
the
the president. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
He's the president, Tom Fraser. Yeah. He's I can't say enough good things about him, honestly. He's a wizard of the industry. He's an unbelievable human being. I've learned like everything from him. And also just applied my own skills and knowledge to kind of his expertise. And so he's still a president today. So, 35 plus years in counting, and Crane is where it is because of him, really, to be honest. So I have that kind of luxury to have that relationship with him, which has been awesome.
That's amazing. And, you talk about mentorship and coming up through and obviously 26 to be a general manager of Ontario is obviously a big role. What do you think some of the attributes, obviously, again, we'll get into the hockey later, but what are some of the attributes that you think got you to that ability to have that position, get that tap on the shoulder and see kind of, working in a large corporation, how do you excel in such a short amount of time?
I think, just like anyone, and if you look at their stories, I think it's a combination of skill and luck, honestly. I think, you obviously have to have the skills in order to excel in various positions, right? And I kind of took an accelerated route through the organization, but, I never feared that I didn't have the capabilities, that I knew in my heart that I could do these things. And I always wanted to be in these positions. I always wanted to do something where I felt I could make a difference. And so these are the roles I wanted to be in. So it wasn't a skill thing I was ever fearful of. It's just actually experience, right? Sometimes, I think I understand it now that like, you don't know how to do things until you've actually gone through them, right? So, I've learned a lot throughout the years, to get where I am today. But in terms of then the luck component, like the reality is you need someone to tap you on the shoulder, or maybe you need a little bit of good fortune along the way to grasp an opportunity. So I think it's a combination of that, to be honest with you. That's kind of, what got me into that role, and I think what's made me excel in it.
Yeah, I find it interesting when it, I don't like the word luck, just, I always say that, the hard work and preparation pays off, and it, sometimes it gets seen as luck. But I think it's interesting to talk about kind of the dimension of, working your way up the ranks, but also visualization in terms of, I've been doing a lot of visualization lately, which if you talked to me a couple of years ago, I would have said relax, but take it easy. But when you can see yourself in that position, whether it's buying a home or starting a business, and you can see yourself in that room, and then you start accelerating what that room looks like. What room do you want to look like? What room do you want to be in? How do you want to walk into that room, and how do you want to carry yourself when you're in the room? And visualization, like you said, is a huge part of getting to that next level. And I find for a lot of people, it's how do I see myself now, and who do I want to become?
No, I'm with you 100%. You have to have I'm not a big fan of these these words that are a little bit gray. It's like, oh, I could or I should. It's like, no, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Like it's like, no, I'm not like I might be able. No, I'm gonna do it. Like it's kind of like that will say, no, I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna achieve it. I'm gonna be certain that this is gonna happen to me. And you're like manifesting it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think those around you, when you start saying these strong words like will and can, they start saying will and can, and then it's amazing what can really transpire. Yeah. So does that make sense? Right? It's like it's perfect. It's the same kind of thing. It's just like, really feel that you can do it. Really because if you don't think you can do it, you're not going to do it.
Totally.
If you doubt yourself, you're just not going to do it. Yeah. Like it's normal to have doubt, but you need to be able to force yourself into that uncomfortable space to say, no, I know I can do it. Yeah. I know I'm going to achieve it. And that breeds confidence. And then, as you see that success, or as you see that, you see that you accomplish things, you gain momentum.
Totally. And the difference I find, I never really understood how much power words had, but they have a ton. And, the big difference for me was, getting into different areas of business and life is it's okay to have fear. It's not okay to have doubt. Not that it's not okay, but it's not a good thing to have doubt. Don't doubt yourself, but have fear in that's going to be hard, or that's going to be challenging, or, oh shit, I got to study or learn a lot, or I got to, go through some very challenging conversations or situations. And I think, to your point of the, saying I do and I will, it is a lot more. There's a lot more strength behind that to manifest what you're going to become.
And listen, I can ask you this, like, I'm sure you've failed,
oh,
right?
Gosh.
I can't even tell you how many times I failed, but we have to embrace it.
Yeah.
Like actually welcome it.
Yeah.
Like welcome failing, because your best self will come out of it after.
Totally.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And what I love about failure is that you already know that you went to some form of uncomfortable space. You've positioned or pivoted to something that maybe you're not great at, or something, into a space where you need to go. And maybe you failed the first, the second, the third, whatever the amount of times, but then eventually you prevailed.
For sure.
And so I think we get too paralyzed by failure. Embrace it. I think that's a beautiful quality, is to be able to fail with like grace.
Yeah.
And be critical. Say, yeah, no, it wasn't my best, or I can do better, and this is what I'm going to learn, and then I'm going to move forward. Yeah. And I feel like people want that. And I know you know this, right? As you build an organization, people want that humbleness in terms of, listen, like even this, individual is going to fail, going to be open about their failure, but they're going to grow from it. And it gives them kind of that ability to put their guard down a little bit, say, no, I can fail too. And then I can grow too. Totally. Like I feel like we all have to be human a little bit, say, no, listen, like as we grow, as we change, there's going to be misery, there's going to be failure, there's going to be challenges, but that's okay. We can do this together. We're not robots.
And we wonder why you have become a general manager in such a short amount of time. It's amazing, man, and I think it's a great thing. How do you motivate and lead your team, especially you're probably younger than a lot of them, in a very important role, and also like widespread. How do you motivate other leaders in terms of like your managers in each individual branch, and then stemming them down to make sure their teams are motivated?
I think that can go so many different routes. I think, and a lot of your guests have talked about it, and I love that they're talking about it, is mentorship. I feel like it doesn't get a lot of, it doesn't get enough credit. I feel like mentorship for whatever reason, but I'm glad that people are starting to voice it, because I think mentorship is huge, and not by, giving direction. It's actually like in the weeds. Get in the weeds with them, right? Get in the weeds with your staff. Show them how to do it. I feel like that's a very inspiring way to lead, and I feel like that creates that kind of culture for them to replicate the behavior, and this creates a good environment.
Yeah.
But I'd say besides that, which I think you can go down that road a lot, I think honestly it's like it's building a winning culture. And having these shared goals, like getting everyone to rally around the same goal, and that goal is honestly to achieve our goals, whatever those may be. They could be financial, they could be intellectual, they could be, whatever it may be, right?
And do you guys use KPIs like for like each different area, and like is that how you like push those goals? You're like, oh yeah,
yeah. No, Cranes is laser focused on their goals, and we make them very clear to understand, and we're constantly obsessing over how do we meet our targets. But it's not just financial targets. I'm talking about different targets, whether it's strategy or whether it's IC or whatever the area of focus may be. We're laser focused on getting there. So it's very apparent. I don't think, and I would say this to any business, like showing up and just doing. It's not a long-term continuous development or continuous growth strategy. You have to be intentional in terms of what you're doing, right? And so we're laser focused on that. So I think when you ask like how do you rally a big group of people, whatever, it's like, okay, firstly, how do we get the same goal? How do we have that common ground? Yeah. And then amongst the common ground, what are all the individual decision makers going to do to ensure we get there? Because we're all going to do something a little bit different, right? But that's what makes a team. Is that we're all going to do something a little bit different, but as long as when you come in the mornings, we're all looking to the same target, then I think that's half the battle. The rest of that, I think, is execution.
Yeah. Wow. It's intense.
It's
good. It's knowing where you could be driving a Ferrari, but if you don't know where to go, you're driving in circles. It's not fun. And I think understanding some goals. We're going through a program called EOS right now, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And when we built our business, it was okay. How do we grow and support more people and be more involved. And be the solution for more clients, right? And build more partnerships and grow our team and give more opportunity. And then it was like, okay, how do we make this structured, right? How do we structure this? So we found EOS, which we're going through right now, which has been an incredible journey. But to your point, it's how do we all get on the same path?
Well, let me ask you, like, how do you get your team on the same path?
you create those goals, right? Create those goals, and communication is key.
Huge.
And yeah, we're finding that there's massive importance to KPIs, and we do it for all different types of things. We do it for Google reviews, we do it for customer feedback. Obviously financial ones are huge, but for us, it's culture, employee retention.
Love it.
And then also, like, we do community initiatives. So it's like, okay, every quarter we have a community initiative. Yeah. Which is it this time?
Yeah.
We just did something that was really interesting where we actually, it was always my ideas that were coming out and then the team implementing them. Well, I switched the table a little bit and said, hey, what do you guys want to do?
Yeah.
And we came up with an amazing, we're doing a summer fun pack for kids.
I love it.
Yeah. And like, that's kind of what we do to kind of, get everybody involved, but also it's not the Dan Guest show. It's not just my goals. It's the team's goals. And everybody gets an opportunity to speak. Everybody gets a voice. And I think that, really drives culture. We've seen a massive improvement in our team and its growth. And sometimes when you're in a management position, it can be hard to identify other needs. But I got some great advice when I was a little bit younger to say, know who you are in your business, because you can't be everybody.
True.
True. And that was from a local hero, Jason Cassis, and he's amazing. And because I said, he owns a bunch of restaurants and a golf course, and he manages an incredible team. And I said, everyone's always so happy. Any restaurant I go to, any facility, they're all happy. Mm-hmm. What do you do? Mm-hmm. He goes, I have a culture person.
Interesting.
They have a budget every month for culture.
Yeah.
And their goal is to know, special events, send a bottle of wine on an anniversary, make sure that we remember birthdays, that we celebrate things, that we, support people if they're in need, whether it's a funeral or something like that. And I was like, fuck. And he goes, you know what, though? I'm not the culture guy.
Yeah.
Because I'm not in the weeds anymore.
For sure.
And I thought that was, first of all, brilliant.
Yeah.
Second of all, it was incredible that, to your point, he was a mentor of mine. He still is. That he was willing to share. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. These aren't hidden gems that no one wants to talk about.
Totally. No, I want to talk, you touched on a good thing. So when you think of, when we talked about this before the show started, any organization, company, whatever it may be, big, small, it doesn't matter. What makes it up is the people. Mm. Without the people, it doesn't matter. Nothing else is relevant, really. Do you have a strong core? Yes or no? And then, if you do, great, then you can look to build. And if you don't, then it's a challenge, right? So you have to do these different things to ensure that, everyone feels like, they come to work and they can make a difference. They can make an impact. They can grow. They can learn. They can, it's more than just about competitive pay and these things, right? It's actually more about what do I get out of my job? What kind of satisfaction do I get in my job? Do I love what I do? Do I get excited to get up in the mornings? And you have to do different things to encourage these people to do that, right? And you kind of talked about this, and we actually did something recently. We did a brainstorming session. I loved it. And just various people across the organizations, we got together, obviously with COVID, on kind of a Zoom call. And we were just throwing ideas out. And it was awesome. Different people across different organizations, different titles. And it was awesome to see everyone's opinion and input on, where we should improve or where we should focus. And I think that's awesome. I'm sure everyone got off that call saying, that was unique. That was something a little bit different in my day. And that got me excited to get up in the morning. Yeah. It's so what are you doing a little bit differently that it's just a little bit of extra incentive to want to come to work.
And it takes a consistent effort, from all parties involved to manifest that to happen, right? Yeah. And that's where, I love the fact that, I would say Crane is a corporate company. It's a large company. It's a nationwide company, and it would be easy to get lost. And I think guys like you, and it's one of the reasons you're on the show,
I appreciate it.
Is a unique situation where you came up with something. So, you spoke about it a little bit, but I stopped you because I wanted to make sure it got on the show. So tell us about your awards that you just created that kind of, hit home for a lot of your staff. And also, how old is Crane? How long has the company been around?
Crane's been around for 100+ years. We've been around forever. And our story is so cool. So if you were to go back and kind of look at history, some of the things that we did, we're kind of, instrumental to the business today. And we've been around so long, we've been around different eras, different markets, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really cool story. But in terms of obviously kind of where we are today, and it's an amazing company to work for. But I think just like, and you understand this is a traditional space. It's a very traditional space. The plumbing, mechanical contracting, kind of construction space, it's traditional. So trying to do things a little bit outside the box that can kind of, create a little bit more excitement. So, last year we kind of instituted some crane supply awards, right? So we kind of created 3 awards. One was like sales excellence, the other one was cultural embodiment, and the other one was exemplary leadership. And they went to 3 fascinating people, and their reactions were priceless. And this wasn't a monetary award. This was not that. This was a recognition award.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, that I think that really went a long way. And like I had told you, one of the individuals who's been unbelievable addition to Crane, he won the cultural embodiment award, and he was tearing up a little bit, right? And that was such a beautiful thing to see. It just shows you how much it meant to him, but also just for us as well, saying like, wow, like this individual really cares about their job in this company. Yeah. And I think that's what I love most about Crane is that, you spend a week there and you're going to see the passion. Like, people care there. Like, I'm not the only one. I'm sure you can see how passionate I am talking about it, but like, it's shared across the organization. There's this like love of the business, and we take it personal. We really love what we do. We don't get up and say, oh, I got another day's work. It's like, no, we're excited to get up and accomplish what we need to accomplish. Yeah. And so, that the Crane Awards have been cool, and I'm excited to see it build and grow. So we'll see who the 2021 awards are going to be.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I think it takes a certain person to come up and get creative and think outside the box and say, okay, I'm not looking at a KPI today. I'm looking at how to make my team better. Yeah. How do we work together? How do we build a culture? And people talk about culture, and there's one thing to pay for culture, and there's another thing to actually create it and sustain it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's something that it's like a plant. You got to make it grow. You got to water it all the time.
You got to spend time on it. You got to spend time on it, and it can be just as important as anything else. Like we talked about, this individual that has been significant to you. Like they had this, culture person. And I think it's just like any other, financial measurement that you're going to go towards. It's the same thing with culture. How do you create a team that wants to work together and wants to achieve these goals? And listen, there's a lot of trial and error. It's not perfect. It doesn't happen overnight. And Crane's got a mix of, because we've been around so long, we have, some fantastic long tenured people, but now we've mixed that with some youthful energy, and it's been a really nice mix. And I think this has created this like really unique culture where, some of those who are tenured and knowledgeable and have kind of seen it all are now kind of getting excited by kind of the youthful energy that's coming through. And then the youthful energy is looking to them for guidance and mentorship and the know-how. And so it's really been like, and like obviously me, I'm kind of sandwiched in the middle a little bit. So it's like, now it's funny. Now I'm like a veteran, at 31 years old, I'm a veteran, right? But it's because, I've hired many people, right? And to see their growth it's definitely the most rewarding thing I've done. That's
amazing. What's one of the biggest challenges you find in your job?
I think like listen, there's a lot of things, but I think this COVID economic environment is very challenging. It just is. Like I think what's kind of taking place right now in terms of like we sell commodities, right? So the commodity world is a little bit perplexing right now, right? And so trying to manage all the commodities, trying to manage all the inventory challenges and market challenges and rapid price inflation, et cetera. Like these are things that have kind of like never really occurred in history. So trying to like pivot and learn on the fly is like, it's funny, what you thought was a strategy yesterday is not a strategy today. Mm-hmm. And like, that's like, you got to train your mind. Say, okay, today I got to pivot. I got to understand that maybe what was relevant yesterday is not relevant today. And so this is really a challenging environment. But honestly, like we were talking about earlier, I love it because this is forcing you to learn. Like if you cannot open your eyes now and see, okay, like you got to understand how to do things differently, like very quickly, then, you're going to be caught, kind of, standing, behind, right? If that makes sense. You're going to be caught, with your hands tied, right? So, you got to learn to pivot. And I think this is definitely a challenging year, that way.
For sure. And I think like you said before, it's an interesting thing to, looking at where's the opportunity. There is always opportunity. How do you find it? And not just, being a victim all the time. And especially as a leader and a leader of a team and creating, growth and a positive mindset. It's like, people are looking to you to be the rock. Totally. Right? You have to have it figured out.
If you're crumbling, then they're going to crumble. Totally. Right? Like you got to, even if you have doubt, You got to understand you have to somehow muster that and say, okay, no, we're going to find a way. We're going to will that way. And so, I know you understand that and how paramount that is really, to set the right expectations and set, how we're going to maneuver through these or the challenges, whatever it may be.
So, and let's bring it back to the kind of, I knew you grew up in Hamilton, playing at the rinks there. How do you equate, growing up, being in a team environment? Because, there's a lot of parents that watch the show and getting their kids involved in different things, and then they're, kind of transferring that information to business, and also team and leadership. How do you think, your youth and, being involved in communities and stuff like that has really strengthened some of your strengths now?
I think the one thing I don't think I was subconsciously thinking about it. Obviously when I was a young kid playing sports or hockey or whatever I played. But I think what's relevant today and what I took away then is, listen, everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses. We're all a little bit different, but it's making sure that you can put everyone in a position to succeed. So when we were joking, I had rock hands, right? But I could fly, I could skate. Put me on the wing, throw me the puck, let me skate in and dump it in. But maybe that was my strength, right? Then get it over to someone who can put it in the net. It's the same thing in business. It's okay, who's taking that flank down the wing and who's going to put it in the net?
Yeah.
And that's okay. We're all a little bit unique, and I think a good leader understands, okay, this is where this person's strong. Let's put them in a position to succeed, right? Let's not put them in a position to fail.
Yeah.
No one wants, listen, I didn't want the puck, with 30 seconds left. I wasn't going to score. Don't give me the puck, right? But maybe someone else was calm, cool, collective and couldn't bury it at the time. It's the same thing in business. So I think with me, I've really understood that kind of in my 5 years in this role, that I want to put everyone in position to succeed. And we're all a little bit unique. So cater to their environment. And also too, when you're succeeding, you're also thriving, right? Mm-hmm. Your confidence is up, you're liking what you're doing, your job satisfaction up. So who wouldn't want that? As an employer, why wouldn't you want that in your employees?
Totally.
So I think that would be obviously there's teamwork and everything else, but I think that's the key thing. When I think of a coach, his job or her job is to put their people in a position to succeed. So I think that would be the most impactful thing for me.
It's amazing.
What about for you?
Yeah, definitely the same. Coming together as a team, I find it is huge, but also learning other people's emotions and what they had them tick. I mean, you always had that kid on the team that would snap at the other team. And so are you the guy that's trying to keep them down, trying to control them in, right? And for me, it's self-awareness, to be aware of others. Maybe I'm not saying that right with the terminology, but I find in business, it's those clients that you need to massage differently.
Yes.
Those clients that you can joke around with, but you need to be able to come, when business is business, you got to be able to, get serious and have those conversations. And I think, building relationships is key, but deeper relationships is more.
Well, it's about, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it's not about being well liked. It's actually about being well respected. Yeah. And there's fundamental differences in that. So you don't just want to be someone's buddy. You want them to value you and what you represent and what you can bring to the table. Totally. And so that's that respect factor. That's a little bit deeper. And in that, listen, you can have a little bit of a kerfuffle, you can have a little bit of disagreement, but there's that walk away factor that, when I respect that individual and what they, their information or their value.
Yeah. And I think finding key people to essentially partner with, because that's what it is. That's what business is about. To say, okay, I have a solution for this person's problem, which is, listening properly to, okay, can I be an impact to this person's business? Yeah. Whether it's a supplier, whether it's in sales, whether it's a service, it's okay. What do they need? Right. Say we do home builders, or say we're building a restaurant. Yeah. Right. They need our services, but what style do they want? Right. Right. Do they already have a plumber? Are they already looking for an HVAC guy? How can we, if they're happy, let's keep them happy, right? Mm-hmm. It's when can we be of service and when can we make an impact for them, or where can we, be a unique solution? And I think, when it comes down to sports and as a kid, it's what team you could go try out for and make an impact, right? Mm-hmm. And what level you're playing at most of the time. Mm-hmm. You're always trying to make that next level up, but if you're not ready, you're not there yet because you didn't prep.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. You're going to triumph. I was house league, maybe hub. I didn't have the wheels to go play triples, right? So, I don't think I've ever looked at it like that. But coming down to the question, I think is great. And then reflecting is, hey, I want to be there, and especially in business. Hey, we want to get to that level. And for our industry, there's levels that we call it. There's a pyramid. We're climbing that thing as quick as we can, but we're climbing it properly. And I think, just like you're not going to sell, some different style of materials just to get someone's business. You're going to sell what you know. You're going to sell what you're good at.
Yeah, we were talking about this, like, the thing with crane, and I know you're going to know this just because of your experience in the industry and obviously working in the industry, with Guest Plumbing. We're strictly pipe valves and fittings. So where that's unique is that a lot of our...
It's on the side of your trucks.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, pipe valves and fittings on our T-shirts.
Yeah.
It can be more legible. But, our the majority of obviously our competition base is also doing plumbing fixtures, right? So we've kind of, removed ourselves from that equation. And I'll tell you, I think it's the best thing we ever decided to do.
Yeah,
right?
streamline it.
It's streamline. And I think it kind of goes back to just focus on what you're good at. And we don't try to pretend to be anything that we're not.
Yeah.
And I think that's good for the client and that's good for Crane. And so, yes, like within that bucket, yeah, we're differentiating, we're doing things a little bit different, but we're not going to go try and do something that we know we're going to failure at, or frankly, like we're fifth to the party.
Yeah.
There's no point in doing that. If you're fifth to the party, just don't show up to the party.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same thing with
Unless you're the last guy in trying to get the date.
Yeah.
Right? The guy that comes in late always wins.
The fashionably late, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but he's always taking the one home.
Yeah.
So
Too bad for me, I'm too punctual, right? I'm always there 5 minutes early.
he's there, just so everybody knows, he was here 20 minutes early.
Yeah.
Waiting at the door.
I am like always overly early. I don't know if there's a term for that. Like that's not punctual. It's like it's just, I don't know, it's over the top. But anyways, I like to be...
You should give a speech to some of our staff.
Yeah. I obsess over punctuality, but maybe that's just me. But yeah, I think going back to, what we were kind of talking about, I think every company, regardless of space, I was actually just I was just reading a book on, and I know you read these books all the time, but it was on strategy. And one of the things I loved about this book, or one section I loved about it, was it kind of reiterates saying the best strategies all start from what you're good at. Mm-hmm. Right? And even just if you think about that in your personal life, some people are, they're in that kind of like, career confusion. They don't know what they want to do, or they don't know where they want to go. The first thing I ask them is, well, what are you good at? Like, what are you good at? And if you know what you're good at, then, maybe try that path. That was honestly the same thing I did a little bit. Like, I always knew that I wanted to go into sales profession a lot because I knew it came a little bit natural to me. My dad was an entrepreneur. My brother is in sales. Like, a lot of my family we're Italians, right? We're talkative people. We love to communicate. Like, this is an environment that I've always, enjoyed and thrived in. Mm-hmm. And then kind of taking it to an nth degree in terms of negotiation tactics. Like, I love all this stuff. So I knew that this is where I wanted to go, but it all started from where I was strong. I didn't try to be an optometrist or something where like I knew I wasn't, that I had no strength there, yeah. Right? Or no interest too, if that makes sense, right? So, I think that's a good place to start.
And then to the next generation, or the person that's coming up, or just getting maybe 2 days on a Mac, not 4 days, what advice would you give them?
For those kind of just starting up in their careers?
Yeah, starting up in the careers, or thinking about entrepreneurship, or getting into a big corporate company and wants to climb the ladder, but starting at the bottom.
Honestly, it's cliche, but the funny thing is these things are all true. Take the opportunities that are presented to you. Don't be overly selective in the opportunities that are given to you. Like, look for an opportunity. Like, that's what I did. I looked for an opportunity and I tried to capitalize on it. Do the same. If you see an opportunity, don't be too selective over it. Take it, ride it, and see what comes of it. I feel like sometimes we paralyze ourselves because we overthink. Just take it, be that yes, man or woman, and run with it. So I think that would be my attitude, is just don't overthink it.
That's amazing.
Run with it, right?
I love that. And I think... for a lot of people getting into business and they want this dream job or something like that. I mean, if you talk to a lot of different people in business and life, they never, I didn't think I'd be here.
No.
Right. And things evolve and things become, unique and special. And I think that's phenomenal advice.
I say this all the time, and I think you'll understand this because, like, I'm not going to say this in a bad way, but like the plumbing wholesale industry, it's not like, when you compare it to like the Amazons of the world or the Apples of the world, it's a different like allure, right?
Totally.
And so what I usually say to a lot of, the candidates or the people in my organization is, listen, like, there's nothing sexy about the pipe valves and fittings industry. I will tell you that. There's nothing sexy about this. Like, weld fittings and flanges is not going to get you all excited, right? But what's exciting is like, at least for Crane, is the way in which we think about the business, the way in which we think about wholesale distribution. And we make, the kind of the fundamentals of selling fun.
Yeah.
and complicated. And that's like, it's a thrill. And so I think people understand that once they kind of get involved, or even in the industry in general, right? Because listen, I never thought that I was going to be in the plumbing wholesale business. I've said that, right? But now I'm so happy I'm here because I see how much fun it can be.
Yeah.
And so I think people just like kind of going back to my point, if I was that individual who's like, oh, I don't want to be in the plumbing business, then I would have never got here.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think
sure.
just be open-minded, see an opportunity around that. You'd be surprised what you're passionate in. Right? Like you don't know what you're passionate until you get into it. So don't be afraid to say, yeah, I'm going to give it an opportunity. Hey, listen, it might not work out, but you don't know until you tried it. Just give it a shot.
Phenomenal. So guys, we're getting to the end of the podcast here. We want to always ask the same question, guys. Why not me? Why not now? And someone like Stefan, is just a picture of that. And, taking an opportunity and going to the next level. And we do this podcast for a lot of different reasons, but one of them is just to showcase greatness. And Stefan and his team, they spew it. If you've never heard of Crane, please check him out. He's going to, we'll have all his links in the bio. Stefan, thanks so much for being on the show.
No, buddy, I appreciate you having me. Like I said, I'm a fan, and it's cool to be here. It's cool to talk about this, and I love Crane, and I'm glad that we can give it a little bit of recognition.
It's amazing. So always ask yourself these questions, guys. Why not me? Why not now? Take that opportunity, seek out that mentor, and take your life to the next level. So if you can follow us, like us, give us a comment, give us a share. The Guest Life podcast, we're on all the different channels. Thanks so much, Stefan, for being on the show.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
My man.